I don't know if I've seen anybody do it quite like this guy, tying it all together, trying to give you access points so that you can tune into the information from wherever it is that you're sitting. And just like that, we are back with chapter 100 of The Universe According to Mugsy. Today is Friday, February 20th, 2026. I am Mugsy the Creator, the interdimensional time-traveling waiter back from the past and the very distant future, here for one moment, the now, the only time that exists, so that I may be your quantum guide at dissecting the reality playing out before your very eyes as the current events. We may examine and explore how they are truly an expression of the culture, which you have some contribution to, your own individual consciousness. 100 chapters in the books. I am so grateful to be doing and broadcasting this podcast to you guys. I am truly thankful to everyone that contribute to who I am today. I honestly, like everyone way back in kindergarten. Remember that kid that picked on me in kindergarten? Thank you so much. There was a chick that cheated on me. Oh man, I love you so much. Thank you so much, girl that cheated on me. Thank you for evicting me and making me the human being that I had to be to get here on this journey of 100 chapters in the podcast. All of my friends from all around the world, all of you guys tapping in from time to time, checking in on my journey, wondering where I'm going to end up. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you. This has been such a ride. I didn't know what I was doing, right? That's the secret. No matter how prepared you are for whatever endeavor that you think you are going to partake, no matter how much you think you know what it's going to be like to walk in those shoes, part of the journey is earning it by doing it and going on that journey. I knew some things. Remember the preface when we started talking about some of the things that I thought that I knew and some of the things that I really did know. But you have to get to 100 episodes of actually doing it to figure out what is a fugazi, what is a fugazi, what's all in your head, and what reality really is. We were so clued in to the energies and how they were moving our culture forward in multiple ways, from your contribution at the individual and to the current events that were playing out before your very eyeballs. And that's what we were tied into, was that culture, because there was something controlling that culture and pushing that culture in different directions, which, as we found out, direction is the most important part of movement, whether we are going in the right direction. And that is what made people so curious, not only on Patreon, Instagram, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. I am so grateful for all of you guys that checked in. Sometimes even at the beginning when things weren't going well, things didn't always run this smoothly. It took a little while, but what I wanted to show you on that journey was you have the power to do this. This is a podcast of self-empowerment. You can absolutely tackle anything you want to do. The only thing preventing you from doing so is your own mind, which could be reprogrammed. That was the secret. The information 20 years ago, when the information age dawned in this internet era as the new technological evolutions were being ushered in, and we were all signing up on that dotted line to get an iPhone and start using Google to outsource all of our searching and research capabilities. We started trusting all of these technological companies who were utilizing that information in ways that we didn't understand. Because when you have access to large swaths of information, what you understand clearly is that human beings are programmable. And we went on a whole host of different conversations and discussions exploring how programmable humans are, which was, for me, exactly what we were trying to figure out on this journey, on my journey of this podcast, The Universe According to Mugsy, the reality that you are now tying yourself into, because you think there is some potential for you to make your life a better place by observing what we are doing here in our little corner of the internet. That is the universe that we have created together, me and you. And just in case you weren't paying attention the whole time, what I did was I recorded it. So you can go back and you can listen to the podcast as it started as an audio-only format. That's not how you need to be doing things in 2026. You guys should have been making fun of me at that moment in time. Where were you? You couldn't have been. You couldn't have been tied up, because if you were listening to me at that moment, you would have been so enamored by what I was saying about the information and tying into the wizardry schools that Kurt Metzger's always talking about. And that secret at the end of the line. Why is this guy, Mugsy the Creator, giving us the secret right at the beginning? It's because you are programmable. That's the secret to life. Humans are programmable. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but what I had done before the podcast even started, when I was quitting my job inside the banking industry and leaving the financial sector, what I was doing was reprogramming and rewiring my own circuit breaker, my own mind, of what was possible and the belief structures that I was tied to, and I didn't even recognize how much I actually cared about sports way back then. 2-3 years ago, I actually cared more about sports than I do today. And this very day, because I understand that programming. And there's just so much that we did. It really is amazing. 100 episodes, 100 chapters. I watched 50 to 60,000 hours and listened to 50 to 60,000 hours of podcasts in my life leading up to that point in time. And I didn't understand the true structure of how they actually flowed. I didn't understand what it was that I was watching, all the coloring that was going on behind the scenes, what was happening in the EQ to take out some of the frequencies in my voice that are so harsh when you were listening back into your ears. Those are all things that we're just picking up now. But even to have the ability to recognize so early on that we needed to get this into some sort of a format structure that flowed. We just started out having conversations, talking about the news a little bit, and I was so egotistical. I don't know why we started at the beginning of this trying to predict the future. Perhaps we too were so wrapped up in the culture or trying to find an audience that we wanted to do something to prove, I guess, maybe me to myself, that I was capable of doing something like that. Prove that what I was actually doing was riding the wires of information, being so close to the information as it exploded that it gave me insights into the patterns of that explosion and the reality that it was creating, and understanding not only was that explosion not a random event, it was constructed in a narrative inside someone's consciousness. And if we follow those 3 patterns, that's when we decided that we had to take this podcast into the video realm, because now we had some sort of structure that we were going to be able to follow throughout the patterns. I think that was 27 doing the 3-man weave. I was out there in the woods. I heard girls talking about their boyfriends and the difference between masculinity and femininity. And I took it upon myself to tell these women my perspective. All right. And I said, excuse me, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to listen to your conversation, but I kind of overheard everything you were saying. And this is kind of what I do, is I explain this shit to people, and they were very receptive. Part of that was because of my body language and the energy I brought to starting the conversation. And I said to them, life and the universe is all about energy, frequency, and vibration. And part of understanding energy is understanding masculine energy and understanding feminine energy. Right out in the middle of the woods. It was hilarious, but it was part of the conversation that needed to be part of the conversation that we needed to have to get to this moment here where we're at now in chapter 100. I can't believe we're in chapter 100. I just want to keep saying it. I didn't understand, but I did, right? I understood that the environment was so important. And that's why I was so careful in the environment that I was taking this podcast into. Do you remember the Breakheart Consciousness Diary? It was early on when we had that conversation, right? Breakheart Consciousness Diaries. Today is Monday, June 24th. And I am reminded of how important an environment is when creating. Whatever you create is a product of its environment, which is you. You are a product of whatever environment you surround yourself with. And the environment you choose is very important because you are a product of it. Okay? It's very important that I document all of this as I do this, as I become whatever it is that I am becoming. so sweaty and aggressive, but still, I was hitting the nail on the head, and I just didn't understand how that integration of that knowledge in your everyday activities could be so life-changing and make such an effect. It's also the energy that you bring with you, right? That was explored more as we got down the path of, I guess, deeper into the chapters and more the conversations, but you are the energy that is potentially the toxicity that you're bringing with you everywhere when you are wondering why things aren't playing out the way that you want them to play out. It could potentially be the energy that you're bringing with you. We learned about what it means to be inside the box and outside the box, because the only way you're able to reprogram your mind is if you are outside the box looking in back at it again. I guess that is, too, part of what creating a podcast is. After watching so many episodes of them, you are climbing outside of the box and becoming a creator, creating the narrative and energetic expression that you want your audience to go down. And maybe you'll be lucky enough to get some people to follow you, only if you are able to keep their attention. And I guess I was able to do that. Michael B Beckwith helped me. He was a huge stepping stone in the understanding that first we need to understand things were happening to me. Now I am visualizing and manifesting them. They are now happening by me. And now I need to allow them to happen through me. So I have to give up that control that I worked so hard to gain again. That's the difficult part. All right? You have to surrender to the next great version of yourself. Now, what does that mean? That things in life are happening to us until we are able to submit and give up our control and admit that. And ironically, playing with the duality of this third-dimensional time space, the polarity, just like the North and South Pole that exists on planet Earth, that plays out in our lives. And as soon as we submit to the fact that we do not have control over the entire universe, that's when we begin to have some control over ourselves. We begin to grab that control back. And then we begin to change things by us. And then, as we start making changes and gaining that control back, these expressions begin to happen through us. And then we are becoming the individual, embodying it, carrying it with us every day. Now, this does not mean that we do not slip up. It doesn't mean that you don't fall off the ladder and you go back to like, oh no, things are happening to me again. And then, but now you have the tools to climb out of the hole that you fell into, and that is so empowering for any individual who's able to integrate that knowledge. The integration is the key. Hearing these things and talking about them is one thing. Thinking about what they mean, applying them to your everyday life is the next level and the next step, and that is part of the reflection and understanding that control, just like Michael B. Beckwith was talking about. But I didn't understand everything that was happening. Even when I sit down to podcast, I don't understand exactly what it is that I'm doing because I'm not doing the same thing that all of the other people out there are doing. I don't have a script. I'm not trying to follow or take you on, I guess, even a really well thought out journey. So what does that mean? I must be doing something different. And I was so lucky to have met my friend Catherine Goldsby at One Gold Energy on a quantum messaging app, which was created by my friend Robert Edward Grant. And what Catherine revealed to me, Shantima, was that you're channeling energy. I don't know exactly how you're doing it, but I've seen people do it before. And what you appear to be doing is channeling energy. And it would have made sense that last year around this time when we were having that conversation, I think it was sometime around this time.
I love how you channel. Do you consider yourself a channeler?
I never did before. Never, ever, ever did I think that that's what I was doing. But somewhere along the way, in the morning, I began to make a conscious decision to make an effort to be the best version of myself in the morning. And eventually, I think that that is channeling energy. And as I began to think about energy, frequency, and vibration from Nikola Tesla and just sort of open up what that could mean in the context of interactions with everyday life, things started to come more into context. I was completely obsessed with the quantum field and understanding how the Akashic record is a reality if the entire universe is just energy. And when we dug into the quantum field and understanding that quantum mechanics, as we start to measure things, right, on smaller and smaller scales, we get bigger and bigger microscopes. It goes beyond protons and electrons and neutrons, and then it goes down to quarks and Plancks, and the smaller we get, there just seems to be no matter, and the only thing that we see there is the energy. So if that energy is happening in real time all around us, there's collisions happening, and they may not even be physical collisions that are happening. What you might see is someone toss a look across the room at someone else. And that look is designed to cut right through, pierce through that human being and have them have an energetic experience, an emotional experience. And those things are collisions that are happening in real time too, but they leave some sort of residue. That's why sometimes I can't just sit down in a room and podcast. It feels all kind of gross and like, ugh, because someone just got in a fight there and I didn't know that energy still lingers. But what Robert Edward Grant, and I should say what Catherine allowed me to see, was what I'm trying to do is channel that energy. If you can access that field, that dimension, which surrounds us in real time, at all times, then you have the ability to access that information, all of the information, at all times, in real time. Accessing all of the information gives you the ability to travel time out into the future of what I'm going to be in the future or what I was way back in the day, and not having the judgment inside of myself, being able to get rid of that, to look at that person in the past and look at that person in the future and understand that those two people are tied together in this human being right here, in this moment right now. I am not that person in the future yet, or am I, right? Because I'm going to be. I'm on my way to becoming that person, and I guess what I'm doing right now is actually going to be the thing that helps me get there. But the only way I was able to be this person right now was because I had to make a lot of mistakes in the past. And oh, wait a minute, now we're on to something. What it truly is Plato's allegory of a cave. It's just how many mistakes can you make? How many times can you get yourself outside of that box? It's not one box that you're trying to get yourself out of. It's all the boxes. It's every single prison. It's every single belief structure that your mind is tied to, when the flexibility is what allows you to see that, oh, anything really is possible. Miracles are something that your mind can't believe. Miracles happen to me all the time, right? Because they're things that I believe can happen. I believe we can heal ourselves. I believe we can get information from the past and the future and tie it to this moment right now. In fact, I think our brain allows us to do that. I think our brain's probably only job would be to find information that we need to make our lives easier in this moment, and suffering electromagnetically would be our resistance to it. If our brain, this is where Robert Edward Grant really helped me a lot. I didn't really understand what a heart-mind coherence system was. I didn't understand what he was saying. Nonetheless, I was walking about my life leading from the heart. You could see everything that was happening on my face at all times. Because until you love what you judge, you will attract what you judge. You will attract what you judge until you love what you judge, as Robert Edward Grant so beautifully puts. I didn't understand that I was trying to use my brain and my heart as some sort of system to move my energy throughout the world and the universe and reality in real time. That as my navigator. Everybody else was using their eyeballs and their logic and all these other things, but I was using my heart mind. And that Robert Edward Grant taught me about a heart-mind coherence system, using our brain, which is electric, and our heart, which is magnetic, to create some sort of coherence. The coherence. Where did the coherence came in? That happened when I got lost in the woods, doing the Breakheart Consciousness Diary, which has now become the Consciousness Diary, a live show on YouTube and Patreon, which all of you can tune into. I can't wait. I hope you do. I could never have imagined that coherence is the manifestation of gratitude, true gratitude for everything around you. But that coherence was what was the result of going out into the woods for 100 days, choosing my environment and choosing to become a part and a product of it. When you separate yourself from this societal ongoing, which I did not only, through the consciousness diary out in nature in Breakheart, which some of you, if you're a real hiker or a real outdoorsman, you would say that's barely nature at all. Well, based on my experience, that's a hell of a lot of nature out there in those woods. And what it taught me was everything has a coherent pattern. Everything has a structure. It is us that get in the way of that coherent movement from time to time. It's the flexibility and the neuroplasticity in your mind as you are learning to rewire your brain that allows you to get so flexible in the way that you see things. Because why are you so tied to your belief structures, whatever it is that they are? This binding is the thing that prevents us from feeling lighter and freer in whatever it is that we want to do. I don't get mad when people judge me for the career that I am trying to build, right? Whether that is a career in the restaurant industry with some of just the nicest human beings, the most fun human beings to spend time with, people that will give you the shirt off their back if you were ever in need, people that will absolutely support you in whatever crazy endeavor it is that you have. All of my friends did not have to be in the movie that we created about what it's like to be a waiter inside the restaurant industry in Salem. And it's so funny to see that we created a movie last year, and now I read on the cover of the Salem News, there's a comedy show being filmed in Salem by my friend Allie DeFranco. And she runs the comedy scene, Which City Comedy, in Salem and that entire circuit. She also runs the Wednesday night show at the Lion's Den, Wolf's Den, some sort of den on Wednesday nights. It's unbelievable. If you guys are some tourists coming through Salem, I encourage you to stop in on the Wednesday night open mic and get a load of what this comedy community is and what she is building and what everybody is tying into. It's all a belief structure. It's all magic. That part we got to much more recently in the podcast of the 100 chapters because that was a great point. That was a great point. I can't wait to hear what you got going on next. But right now, we need to take a minute. We need to take just a moment and ask you about incentive structures. Do you like when your podcasters are incentivized to sell you bullshit? Do you need another pair of underwear? Do you need some more socks or some more boxers? Maybe some pills that'll make you think a little differently? No, you don't. What you need is a podcaster that's going to be honest with you, tell you the truth, give you a little bit of the reality and the way that they see the world. And that is what I do here on this broadcast because we have zero advertisements. Nothing gets in the way of me and my audience. In order to do that, you got to go right now to patreon.com/MugsyTheCreator, where I have aligned all the incentives with you, my audience, so that we will never get lost. And if we do get lost, at least we'll be together. Take back your consciousness. MugsyTheCreator.com. Magic exists all around us. And that heart-mind coherent system to other people looks exactly like magic. When you don't know the trick that's being played on you, then it looks like magic. I had to go out into the streets of Salem and perform magic tricks to try and get people to pay attention to this podcast. And I did. Let's see that. Let's see the footage. Let's roll the tape. We have 5 more cards, right? 1, 2. We want the 7th. We want to be the 7th one. 3. The reds make me feel a lot better about this. 4. Okay.
I'm getting nervous.
Yeah. We got 5 here. Ooh, wow, sticking with those 2s. This is 6. And now we're looking for the 6 of clubs, my 7th card.
Ooh, I'm scared.
Oh, there it is, the 6 of clubs.
Fucked up. Yeah.
Wow, that was good.
Fucked up.
That messes with my head.
Thank you guys. There's so much magic. So much magic here. Have a good one. And that is what I had to do out there, is create the magic. That's what all of my friends inside the Village Tavern tapped into and allowed me to use their energy for, to create the magic that happens on the screen for you people behind the scenes to be able to tap into it and see what's actually going on inside that. He says all these things are happening inside his environment, but I don't really know. But when you actually do it, when you're sitting there and you pull a trick on someone, you see the light in their eyes begin to shine because they have no idea what just happened. There's some structure to it. If you didn't see the trick and you don't understand the trick, of course it's going to be a surprise to you. But to anybody that knows the trick of electromagnetism and the heart-mind coherence, or anyone who knows what it's like when things are happening to you and then they have to be done by you and then through you, these are just a reality that we all live in. That's what I'm saying. When I say we create our own reality and the current events that you see in front of your eyes, or where our energy goes, where our attention goes, our energy flows. If you're paying attention to these things, then you will see them. If you are not paying attention to them, I promise you will not see them. If what you are trying to do is convince everybody, including yourself, that you're the hottest worker and nobody sees the value in the things that you do, you will get there. I promise you. Sounds like a miserable existence, and I don't want to tie myself to that. Certainly energetically. I'm having way more fun living in the reality that I'm living in now, with my friends doing all these crazy things. There are so many people that have joined the podcast. We've talked about them extensively. I don't want to take you on another trip down memory lane, but there's just so many more from all walks of life. I mean, I have so many friends at Bentley University, Emory University, Salem State, St. John's Preparatory School for Young Men, North Shore Community College, the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. I have traveled all over the world. My friends do some crazy things, from psychologists to doctors to people that have started companies and businesses, working for private equity in the finance sector, to starting nonprofits, working in cartooning, working in the media space myself. I have a friend in high school. He used to be a stand-up comedian, Bo Burnham. I've been looking for him for years. Do you guys remember that whole podcast we did called Where is Bo Burnham?
What did he see at that moment that I missed completely? He saw the iPhone. He saw social media and how it was going to suck us in to becoming the lowest common denominator versions of ourselves. He saw statistics, and he saw through numbers and how they could manipulate people into believing things. From the stage, he understood that the human mind was malleable and that the human psyche could be manipulated.
I've been looking for my friend Bo for so many years. He did a movie he made on Netflix. It wasn't as impressive as my movie that I did here on YouTube, which you guys should check out. But he did a Netflix movie, and after I saw that movie, I was like, I need to make sure that I make a point to go find that guy, because getting outside the box, like we've talked about before, is something hard to do. And what I did, even before I left my last career, before I got into my previous job, was me and Bo had a similar experience of leaving society completely so that we could get a clear look at what exactly it was becoming, because sometimes the only way to see something clearly as it is to leave it and no longer be a part of it. And then it is your choice whether you want to get back involved with any of those societal things that are going on. One individual cannot move society in another direction, but one individual can make it look so goddamn fun. So fun to move in another direction that other people start to join. And if other people start to join, then all of a sudden there's a powerful force that is happening energetically with the electromagnetism of multiple people coming together and forming a small culture. And those small cultures sometimes get stuck in the cult aspect of it. But if it grows big enough, then the cult becomes the culture. And all of a sudden it's something that everyone has bought into. And now all of a sudden society is moving in a whole different direction, creating different current events that play out before all of our eyes. And all of a sudden we are in a different reality. These things happen on a small scale, microcosms, but if it's happening on a small scale, what's happening there is it's happening on a bigger scale. Because do you remember when we talked about the rats and all the rat experiments? Is one of the interesting rat experiments that I love tying back to is that one where if one rat figures out a puzzle and how to get out of one of those puzzles, even if no other rats in the entire world could have figured out that maze, all of a sudden now all the other rats can do it. It reminds me of the time that no one could, I think it was a 4-minute mile, 3-minute mile, 6-minute mile, one of those miles. It was hard to beat for runners for a long time. And then all of a sudden one guy beat it. And then the next week, a whole bunch of people beat it. It's almost like once somebody gets through that energetic little tight spot, they've taught the rest of the world how to do it. So this by doing 100 chapters of this quantum mechanics, quantum physics exploration into your own consciousness and seeing how things are tied together. Relax. I've made it so much easier for you to do so yourself. This better be the most self-empowering podcast out there, because I don't know if I've seen anybody do it quite like this guy. Tying it all together, trying to give you access points so that you can tune into the information from wherever it is that you're sitting behind that computer screen or that cell phone, or whether you're listening at work or at the gym or with the kids, or you're a homeless person and you're walking by a television screen and you hear other people watching this. I don't care how it is you get to it. I really hope it finds you, because all we're trying to do here is just have a little fun. Have a little fun, show our authentic self, I guess, and be honest with the things that we know, the things that we don't know, and the things that we're trying to understand. Time and traveling time is one of the things that I have been blessed to be able to start to navigate. So taking a vacation before the 100th episode was exactly what I did. It's just what I needed to do. Me and the wife went on vacation. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You guys should all do this. Go on a vacation. It had been quite some time before I met this woman and I started going on vacation. I think I used to tell my buddy Nick, every once in a while I'd shoot him a text message. I would just say, hey, I love you, buddy. He lived in Washington, D.C. And on my way home from college at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, I drove up the coast and he let me stay with him and my buddy Parker. They let us stay in their Washington, D.C. unbelievable house. We were going to stay there for a night as we were traveling through, but me and my buddy Vig, we stayed there for an entire week. We were having so much fun. It was so nice to have such an unbelievable place to stay, have our own space down in his basement, and right in the thick of things inside Washington, D.C. That was the last vacation I took for a long time, until you really have to stop letting things happen to you and you got to start creating them on your own. So then I started taking vacations when I met my wife, and this one was one that I needed to take her on to celebrate 100 chapters and all the support that she has been for me. Oh my God, I could have never done this. I could have never done this without her, just like I was saying at the beginning of this, all my friends, all of my family that have been there every step of the way when I needed them. I could have never done this without her. So we went up into the mountains. North Conway is a beautiful little community. There's so much up there, whether you want to go skiing, snowboarding, tubing, or whether you're the type of people that go up there in the summertime and looking to camp on that Saco River. There's everybody in New England goes up there. And this time I thought I was going to try something different. So we go for a yoga class. Now, in my mind, when we go for a yoga class, we're going to do some positions, but I haven't been to an actual yoga class since I was 18 years old. So I'm just doing, in my free practice, I'm just doing whatever poses that I remember, and I'm assuming we're just going to do all these poses together. And I'm thinking we're going to be up there with soccer moms who aren't skiing on the slopes with their family. They're going to drop them off and they're going to go to yoga class. That is not what we're getting. What we're getting at this yoga studio, which was awesome, I loved so much, and it's in this basement, it's in this rock basement, so energetically I feel like we are, I don't know, harmonizing underground with some sort of stone that's giving us some sort of resonance or insulation from all the things that are happening above ground. It's really a weird feeling. But the clientele is just, it reminded me of when you would go to church and some people would like cut you off in the parking lot to like get to the front of the church so they can be the first ones to say thank you to God. And they would feel real good about being in the front of church. You could tell by the way that they walked in and the energy that they were carrying with themselves with. And then at the end of church, what they would do is they would sprint out to the parking lot. They would cut you off on your way out. And you're just thinking to yourself, hey guys, aren't you kind of missing the whole thing? Is it just, I don't know, just a snooty little air of the clientele of people that they think they're a little bit better because they're doing the yoga. And that is not really what I'm going for. And it wasn't really a yoga class. I would say a little Pilates, a little yoga, a little bit of some weird positions and rotations that I wouldn't necessarily call all yoga. I forget what it was called. It was some sort of gentle flow yoga class. It was so fun. That was probably the worst part of the whole goddamn weekend. And that's saying something, because we were about to do a bunch of things that I had never done before. And it was So we do the yoga and then we go, I'm just so trashy. My guys, the Are You Garbage guys, are going to have such a hard time deciphering whether I am trash or class because I am willing to hop inside what I know is a disgusting pool and hot tub because I want to have that experience because I don't have a pool or a hot tub. And those are nice things. And I like swimming in a pool from time to time. But a classy person would never get into those. They'd go do that somewhere else. They wouldn't do it in the hotel pool you can just see. I can see the things float. You don't even have to tell me. Like, it's not up for debate whether this is a clean or a dirty hot tub. You can see things floating around, just a Band-Aid here, and you're like, fuck it. We'll go there anyways. I'm a trashy individual, but here's where I draw the line. Because with everybody else that we were going down to that hot tub and pool with, they are in the hotel bathrobes. And that I find too trashy for me. A trashy move, or is that the classy move? I am so interested to see what Kippy and Foley have in store for me when I make it onto their program. We're only at 100 chapters. Maybe that's coming in the future. But nonetheless, we make it back to the pool and we hop in there. It's so gross. It makes me feel gross now, but at the time it was exactly what I needed. It was nothing like what I had planned for us for the next morning. Next morning, we got up, we did our hanging around, and then we went in for a foot bath. Now, I'm not a foot person. Any of you females out there that have experienced this guy, you know that I'm not necessarily a foot guy. It just doesn't do it for me. I think those are two wires in the brain that are crossed somewhere, and I don't have that wiring, so I didn't have to uncross it when I was uncrossing my wires for myself. But I'm open to foot stuff. In fact, one of the things that I just keep getting through my mind that I can't stop thinking about is in the Bible. I remember every time that they had me read the Bible in Catholic school, there were always somebody washing somebody's feet. Like it was an important thing that we always had to do. And I don't remember anybody in my life ever telling me that I had to wash my feet, really, because they get washed when you're at the bottom of the tub when you're taking a shower. That's my mentality. But going to the soaking pot in North Conway, I had never been pampered in any way, shape, or form professionally, and I see what you ladies are doing. I see why it's an enjoyable experience. I see why it's so relaxing. The music certainly gets you in the mood. They got these smells going on, but they're not like perfumey smells. They're not like the scents that I'm used to when I go walking through a Macy's or a Bloomingdale's that hit you, that are attacking your internal systems, your respiratory systems, your neurological systems. I can feel that happening like it's an attack. But when you're in these nice places, they have salts, because what you had to do before you got there was you had to choose a salt soak for your feet. And we get there and they greet us. We sit down, we take our shoes off, we go sit in like a comfortable chair, like a real comfortable chair. And it's elevated pretty high up. And someone comes in, they've prepared our warm foot bath with the salt selections that we've chosen. I myself chose a Dead Sea salt with some, I forget the smells that they had going on in there, but it was delightful. And I could smell it all. And it was just putting me in such a relaxing mood. They had the tonal music, like tones, like whale calls in the ocean, or like flowing throughout the universe, like, oh, or like hitting the dings and the bells, maybe some classical, all of that flowing stuff. That really relaxed us. You're in a curtained off area, so you have a little bit of privacy. But if you're speaking quietly, like I guess I was, because it's such a relaxing, you can't hear what's going on, so you really feel like private. And then this nice woman comes in, and she wheels in this copper bath, a big old copper bucket for me to stick my feet in. And that was so nice, because immediately in my mind, what I'm seeing is, oh, this is hygienic. Copper naturally is antibacterial and antimicrobial. So the hot water that they're doing all the foot stuff in it's actually cleaning itself all right at the same time. I feel good about this. Not quite like when I'm sticking my feet in the hot tub at the hotel, where I can see the things floating around. This is a much cleaner and neater experience. And I had been stuffed up a little bit. I don't know why. Just the travel or the excitement, or who knows, the wintertime. And that stuffed up like starts going away. as I'm smelling this salt and I'm sticking my feet in this foot bath, and my wife is sitting next to me and we're having a delightful conversation and we're relaxing. She got her foot salt, we got our foot salt, and I'm like, I can get used to this. This is so very nice. And I'm starting to realize that my sinuses are clearing up. And then this nice woman, she comes back in and she's like, would you guys like a warm-up? A warm-up? And she comes with some more hot water. There's hot stones. I forgot about the hot stones. Oh, they put hot stones in the bath to keep the water warm. It is so nice. If you're a dude and you're thinking, I don't know, that's so gay. I don't know if I want to do all that gay stuff. You should go do the gay stuff. You're going to feel so much better. You're not going to beat your wife after this. Oh. And then she just keeps coming in with relaxing foot baths. And she keeps warming us up. And at the end of this hour-long foot soak, honestly, I don't know if I've ever felt that. It was so nice and relaxing. I don't know if it was healing me, whatever the Dead Sea salt stuff was. I don't know if I'm just so trashy that I haven't taken a bath, especially a foot bath, in a decade. None of those salt baths, none of those oatmeal, nothing joints. I ain't never done no foot bombs, no bath bombs, no cocoa butter shea bombs. I ain't done none of that. So maybe I am just expanding my horizons, and that's exactly what I needed to do, but it was so nice. You should all do it. But I'm a waiter. And I had never been into the pampering or the self-pampering industry myself. So at the end of this, I thought I had already paid. But she gives me the thing and I'm like, oh, my credit card. Okay, we'll pay. And then there's a tip thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. Do you guys not get paid? Because I'm a waiter and I work on tips. So I left him like $5 on an $88 foot thing. And then I go outside and I'm like, was I supposed to tip on that? And my wife's like, yeah, dude, they were pampering you. This is the take care of industry. Of course they work on tips. And I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea. When you flip that little thing around with that credit card information, I am programmed as a waiter to be like, you didn't fucking bring me no food. You get paid a wage, no tip. When I'm at the marijuana store and someone is like, here is the marijuana that you got, and they put a little tip cup, I'm like, no, dude, you get paid a $15 an hour. I get paid nowhere close to that. I work only on the tips. I feel like everybody's kind of like taking some of my shine by also saying that they're in the tip industry when they don't understand that the tip industry means that you make all of your money on the tips. None of this like $2 that the rest, that's nothing. That's not inflation. Inflation. Poverty. Like, no. But I'm a moron and I'm a dummy and I am willing to admit when I'm wrong. I also am a waiter. And if you work in the tip industry, you just took such nice care of me, of course I'm going to tip your ass. So as my wife, we're driving back to the hotel, I'm like, all right, I have to go back in there and get some cash. And I'm going to go back to the foot place and I'm going to drop some cash off with those nice people. And I went right back in there and I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that we were supposed to tip at this place. And I dropped the cash on the table and everything worked out perfectly. I just wanted to make sure that if this was an environment that we were doing a little tip exchange, that I wanted to make sure that, yeah, you guys got yours too, because I will take care of you as long as I know that I'm supposed to take care of you. But what I feel like is happening is I'm just supposed to take care of everybody. People forget to take care of me when it's my job you're supposed to take care of me when I bring you the food. I digress. The other thing that we did, so we leave the foot bath, which was so amazing. It just felt so nice. I can't express enough how much of an unbelievable experience it was at the Soaking Pot up there in North Conway. Thank you, everyone at the Soaking Pot. We went out to dinner that night. We hung around. We might have gone back into the pool. I don't remember exactly what it was that we did, but I do remember that the next morning we had a massage. My first couples massage, my first massage ever. And I didn't know what to expect. What was happening immediately when we started lying down, they got the heated table. The heated table is something I didn't know existed. Now that is worth its weight in gold. That keeps you nice and warm. I didn't know you could get naked or not naked. So immediately I'm learning things. So my guess is the creepiest ugliest, like most disgusting human beings are the ones that get naked, and they're always probably like trying to show you a little of what they got going on, because when you get into a dark room, me, a man, probably taller and stronger than all of the women in the room with me, the environment could change whenever I change. So I feel a responsibility to definitely relax, and what I'm recognizing is all of the stories in the NFL that I heard about that guy, or any of the people getting massages, that changed the way that I thought about it completely, because what they're really saying could be completely different, because the lines in my mind are black and white. When you're getting a massage, of course there's no sexuality to it. Of course you would never try and make a move on your masseuse. There would never be any of that confusion of the things that are going on, because this is a professional exchange. But after putting myself into the situation, what I realize is, oh, this is the grayest lines possible. If I was the quarterback of the Houston Texans and some girl, a 22-year-old, 23-year-old, just started massaging, started coming in here, I could see how things could get a little twisted. I now have to re-examine everything, every conclusion that I've ever come to about the things that I've been told about what people have done or haven't done. Oh, Robert Kraft's coming home from the Super Bowl. All the experiences that I've heard about in my own brainwashing of the things that I was supposed to believe, of the stories that went on. But when someone understands the human body, because that's the next thing that's going on, other than like, oh my God, I'm trying to relax. We're so close that someone's touching me, and understanding, like we were talking about the Akashic record, my mental field, we're so close, we're within 6 feet of each other. You can read my aura. If you're trained, you could probably start to detect the types of thoughts that I'm having if you are trained in doing that. Now, I'm not saying these people are trained in doing that, but they are trained in Reiki and all these other types of massage therapy, touching the individual. So I would not be surprised at all to learn that in their training, they have figured out like what people are thinking, or what type of mood they're in, or what's going on in their lives. And after an hour and a half of doing like synchronous massages, where we found that out after the fact, my eyes were closed, but they did the same things to my wife that they were doing to me, different women at the same time. Maybe they switched. I did have my eyes closed, so I don't know. They were like aligning the human body. They must have an intimate knowledge of the human structure and form, and what it looks like when someone has back problems or hip problems or shoulder problems, and how they walk around the world, and whether they're leaning to one side or whether they're hunching over. You may be able to detect the type of job someone does because of the posture that they carry. Both of these women who held themselves incredible posture. They were incredibly fit and put together, like they had removed all of the energy in their body that wasn't flowing. It made me think about like flow and my Tai Chi, the arm swings that I do in the morning, because where there is flow, there is no pain. Where there is pain, there is no flow. And that immediately got me into that state. But unbelievable massage. Unbelievable experience. The whole weekend was unbelievable. 100 chapters down and in the books. This is a celebration for that too, with me and the wife, all the things that she's done for me in these 100 chapters. And the reason that they were making fun, I knew that I had to tip now. All right, just for the record, I know you guys are thinking at home, did this guy know to tip the massage therapist? Yes, I did know how to do that. I did give them a good tip, even better than 20% on a pretty expensive massage, couples massage. So I think that was great. But the thing that we didn't know that we were going to get the opportunity to do this, but while we were driving around the day before, after our foot bath, one of the things that we found out was Mount Washington is right up there in North Conway. Now, I am a hiker. I love mountains. So when my wife asked me if I want to take a Snowcat to the top of Mount Washington, immediately I was like, let's do that. They don't often have the opportunity to take a Snowcat to the top of Mount Washington. The reason for that being, the things that I didn't know, is because when you get to the top of Mount Washington, you are essentially in the Arctic Circle. They have well over 100 hurricanes a year at the top of Mount Washington, the base camp there, like all the way at the top, the summit of Mount Washington, they have hundreds of hurricanes because that only being 6,000 feet in the air is actually in a completely different atmosphere. And what happens is the winds that blow across, you guys might have heard of these winds wherever you are in the United States of America. These winds have crossed you. Whether you're out there in San Francisco, these are the same winds coming from across the Pacific Ocean that come down from Canada. They come up from the southeast. So even if you're living out there in the plains, maybe you're from the windy city of Chicago, those winds are the same ones that blow right across Cleveland, upstate New York, and into this Appalachian range, which funnels all the wind north until it reaches one specific spot where all of that wind hits a V.
The winds are literally funneled right toward Mount Washington.
And all of it is forced over a mountain range into a ditch and a valley. I don't even know what it's called on the other side. The mountain that it all goes over is the Mount Washingtons. Would you believe that? All information I would have loved to know before I agreed to go to the top of that Mount Washington in a Snowcat. Now, I have just gotten the most amazing massage of my entire life. I am more relaxed than any individual has ever been. I paid that massage bill so goddamn fast because I knew we had 30 minutes to get from the outlets shopping Settlers Green Village to Mount Washington Car Road, because that was where we were going to meet the Snowcats to go to the top of Mount Washington. So I'm in my most relaxed state all of a sudden, out on a mission to drive as fast as I can to get to the bottom of a mountain so that we can hop in a machine that I don't know is about to take me to the highest mountaintop that I could ever have imagined going, also into another atmosphere, also into what is the coldest place on Earth, or was 3 years ago to the day that I was there with my buddy Bruce, who took us up on the Snowcat. And all of a sudden we get there, and I'm seeing the thing that we're going to be doing. And I don't like heights. What I like about climbing a mountain is the whole time my feet are on the ground. And even if we reach a steep grade, I can have my feet on the ground. So as long as I don't slip backwards, I'm good. And I get to the top of the mountain, and then you have a view of the beauty of all the things that are out there in the world. And now I have a new perspective. Some people say that if you want a God's perspective, climb a mountain. When you get to the top of that mountain, you have a new way of seeing the world. All the problems that you had at base camp, they're not the same problems that you had anymore. Now that you're up in this new stratosphere, this new view of the whole planet that you're seeing. And I like that. I like going with my feet up the mountain. And this time, I had heard that you could take your car up Mount Washington, but it's a really narrow road. But I figure we're going in a Snowcat. That will just be one of us going up that mountain. So it'll be wide enough for us. And it is wide. But my guy, Bruce, he likes to take you to the edge and show you the view of how high up we are. And it was just so unexpected. I was not expecting, when we hopped in that vehicle, that we were going to be so close to the edge, because the road, when you're on the road, I just didn't know so much. So there's this thing called a tree line on a mountain, and it's the elevation with which trees grow. I didn't realize, because I had never climbed a mountain higher than the tree line, that once you get up past a certain elevation, trees stop growing because it's hard for them to do so. And that's when there's nothing but rocks. And you start to join a place that feels a hell of a lot like a moon. And you're on this moon, and all of a sudden the winds from across the entire country of the United States of America are blowing right over your head. There's snow at the bottom of base camp. There's a couple feet of snow. So there's a hell of a lot of snow on top of this mountain when you get to the top of it, and there are winds going over you at hundreds of miles per hour. It is so cold that if this thing were to break down and I were to go outside, I would be dead in 5 minutes, because I also did not pack any of the things that I needed, because I wasn't prepared to go to the Arctic on my nice relaxing vacation. to North Conway. I didn't realize might as well have been going to the tip top of Canada or the coldest part of Antarctica, and that's exactly what we were doing. So I'm freaking the fuck out. And my guy Bruce is so nice. He keeps being nice, and he's like, don't worry, guys. There's a side rail that'll keep us from going too close, and that'll protect us.
Don't worry. Like I said, these guardrails,
Now, in my mind, I know that there's probably no side rail. There's probably not a side rail. But I'm choosing to believe that there is a side rail because my guy Bruce keeps making the same joke. And we start getting up the mountain, and now we're above the tree line. And what Bruce is saying to me is he's like, hey guys, guess what? Do you see that little pole right there? And I'm like, looking out the window. And I'm like, I see the little pole right there. What's this guy talking about? He's like, that pole is 55 feet in the air. And now I'm like, what are you talking about, Bruce guy? You driving Bruce? He made me feel real comfortable because he's done this a whole bunch of times. But at the same time, I am just not that comfortable because I've never been up this high. And he's like, that's 55 feet in the air. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense because we're driving on something right now. And he's like, yeah, that's a snowdrift. That's snow going over. There's a road underneath us, but it's 55 feet below us. I'm like, what the fuck? And then he's like, take a look over here. That's the presidential mountain range. That mountain over there is below us. And right to your right is the Oohoo Drop. And this is where the wind goes over us at 160 miles an hour. And there's a steep 6,000 foot drop straight down if you just look out the window. And I'm like, okay. And he stops the car there. And he's like, don't worry. The guardrail will save us if anything happens. And in my mind, I'm like, we could die at any moment. I don't know this guy. I don't know this Bruce character. I don't know him at all. The wind is blowing so fast. And then finally he takes us around and I'm like, oh, you know, when your butthole is it's just puckered into like the tightest, I have just been on the most relaxing experience. My feet have felt a foot bath that I didn't know could be so warm. There have been things massaged out of my body that I had a third grade teacher that she yelled at me once. I hadn't thought about her since that time when I got the multiplication tables wrong in third grade, and I screwed that up, and I hadn't been holding on to that, and that lady who massaged me got all of that out of me. But Bruce found a way to bring all that back and store it all up in the puckered asshole sitting inside the second row handicap seat of his Snowcat, about 4,500 feet up into the air at the top of Mount Washington. Oh my God. And finally we get to the top of this, and I'm just so grateful that we are about to make our way back down. Now the views are insane. The weather is insane. All the little things that would be precipitation inside the atmosphere are turning immediately into ice, and they are freezing on Bruce's face as he goes outside the car to wipe off the ice from our windshield, which he has been continually doing. And I'm thinking, if this guy just takes a wrong step, he's going off that cliff. And I don't know how to drive us down from here. Oh my God, I was freaking out. It was so scary. We were up there so high. They have up there, they have a hotel, or they had a hotel. Now there's this whole observation weather deck. There's so much going on up there. It's a private place that I didn't realize. It was owned by Dartmouth, but it was also owned by a family. And that's where they take a bunch of weather readings. That's how we know about all the hurricanes that are going on up there. You could see over every mountain in the range, and on a clear day, you could see hundreds of miles to the Atlantic Ocean. My boy Bruce there showed us a picture. Spectacular. Unbelievably clear day. One of the clearest days, which is why we had the opportunity to take the Snowcat up the mountain. They don't do that on all days. Usually they'll go about halfway up the mountain and stop there, but this one we took all the way to the summit and those observation decks. We did a little drive around the entire presidential range. You could actually see to Canada, and I think it was 6 other states: Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, New York, Canada, multiple countries. You could see all of the ponds and lakes that we spend so much time at in the summer if you're from the New England region. It truly transports you to a mentality that you didn't know you could have. calming, even though I had just been on the ass pucker ride of a lifetime up that mountain. So calming and relaxing. Silence. And part of that silence is the fact that there's death surrounding you. Bruce told us so many stories. There was a couple or three people that climbed to the top of the mountain when there used to be a hotel at the top of it, and they froze to death. And when the people left that hotel in the morning, what they realized was they were no more than 30 feet from the steps of the hotel when they made base camp. They just didn't know where they were at, and they decided to hunker down, and they froze to death. 30 feet from what would have been the finish line. When you reach an area like that, it reminds you that death is always far closer than you realize. And it can sneak up on you. And it can sneak up silently. And it is just so fast. And that, I think, scaring the living shit out of you is a healthy reminder as you go down the mountain. And Bruce led us outside to about halfway down the mountain at the turnaround, which is the highest you can normally go on the mountain unless you're going to the summit. Bruce let us out, and it was insanely cold. I could only imagine how cold it would have been on top of Mount Washington. He was also telling us that many people who go and climb Mount Everest climb Mount Washington for the winds, because the winds on Mount Everest are nowhere near as strong as they are at the top of Mount Washington for the reasons we were just saying, the valley that funnels all the winds coming from across the country over that specific mountain, which is why it is such an important place for taking weather readings. And it made me thinking, I wonder if it is some sort of energetic portal, which is why the summit of that mountain has been controlled for so long. And it's the reason that maybe people went up there hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and why there was a hotel on the top of that mountain in the 1800s in the first place. That was all just my speculation. At the bottom of the mountain, there's a hotel that burned down 5 times, and I do not ever want to stay in that hotel, because it would seem to me that there's some energetic information going on there that the universe is trying to tell us about that hotel that we should definitely be listening to. But I digress. Unbelievable experience. If you guys ever get a chance to go up into Snowcat and you are not as afraid of heights as me, you will have a better experience. If you are afraid of heights, you should go anyways. You should face that fear, and you should see what it's like to get to the top of that mountain. Gorgeous, unbelievable, or the top of any mountain. I do love hiking, but feet on the ground for me, I didn't realize was so important. I guess these are the little things that you learn when you go on a chapter and a journey in this life. And that was, I guess, the end of... That was the end. When we got down the bottom of that mountain, I couldn't have given Bruce money out of my wallet so fast. I was so grateful to touch that ground and have the experience and all the pictures that my wife took. Guaranteed I didn't take any of those pictures. I was staring straight ahead, just enjoying. Maybe I'll take a look at this mountain. Oh, hey, mountain. That's a really cool thing. I'll think about that when I get to the bottom of this mountain, because I'm not going to think about that right now, because if I think about that, then I'll remember that I'm up here and, death is so close. It has been so fun. I think we will save the cryptocurrency talk for another time. Chapter 100. What an unbelievable experience. I am so grateful to all of you for tuning in. I am so grateful for all of you that have come on this journey with me. I'm so grateful to all of the things that led me here to this moment in time, starting this broadcast, this podcast that we are sending out into the corridors of the universe, out into space, time, and seeing where it takes us, this journey that we are going on together, using our magic, the heart-mind coherence that we have developed, and all of the information and wisdom that we have picked up, navigating the timelines of the past and the future, aligning them with the present moment that we are in now, and relaxing into the uncomfort, which is the only way to grow, is get comfort in the uncomfortable situations. And I think that's what we're doing here. I think that this has been one more ride on this crazy journey. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Now take back your consciousness. I love you, and I am out. If you want to find out where else you can listen to this broadcast and you're a human, you can go to MugsyTheCreator.com. If you're a robot, I got nothing for you. I mean, unless you can subscribe over here, or you can click this playlist. If you're a robot, you can do that. That would definitely help. Like, subscribe, whatever you want. Thanks a lot, guys.